I'll just read off the screen. Saying, I found the Quran from my daughter at home. First day, I read for 3 hours. Next day, my first prayer without know-how. Okay, well, you kind of seem to know a little bit, okay? I'm sad because I don't know how to pray. What the hell is this? Don't give up. You can do it. What the hell is this? Dolly, what are you doing to? I got information on the internet. This is. I learned prayer and surahs. Okay. My first time I visit a mosque, there was only one man. One man. He was very friendly. Okay, guys. You know, I think English is this guy's first language, and it's my second language. But help with me with my English. It's not one man. It's either one man or more than one man. How is this singular and then plural? He doesn't. Okay. I asked him for help. He showed me how to pray, and I did what he said. I got books about Islam from the mosque. Okay. I studied at home every day. I thank Allah for the guidance. Okay, that was it. Wow. Okay, this like looks like a commercial. This got more than 1 million likes on TikTok. I don't know how many views it got. Let me see how many views this got. It more than 1 million likes. How many views this man got? They grift, man. Wow. Okay, it got about 7 million views. Do you know what this shows? Do you know how much effort went into making this video? You got 7 million views for that. Do you know the incentives that's being created here for white converts to show that they're converted to Islam? Do you know how many people would be tempted to do the same thing given the level of attention and the level of reception that is just that they're receiving? Again, there are three things that many Muslims are really looking into. Like, if you have one of these three, or two, or all three, then it would be, and if you are only focusing on your own interests, then I can see why you would convert to Islam. If you're white, that's a huge plus. If you're a woman, that's also a huge plus. If you're famous, that is incredible. If you're all three, you're converting to Islam. You would. I don't good lucky. Actually, the fourth one is good lucky, right? If you have all four of these, then you could get so much out of converting to Islam. You could get so much attention. So this guy has the being white element, and that's one reason why he's getting this much attention. I will bet you so much money that if this was this exact same video about a man in India who converted from Hinduism to Islam, would not get like a fraction of the attention. Or even a black man in the United States would not get a fraction of the attention. Notice how there wasn't a single point regarding what this man found convincing about Islam. Like, why? Okay, so he read the Quran and he never knew anything about it. Let's see actually what convinced him. Because he apparently just reading the Quran was good enough for him to become a Muslim. Let's read this. I found the Quran. I found the Quran from my daughter at home. So before that, this guy had no Islamic knowledge. He found the Quran, okay? And then what happened? First day, I read for 3 hours, okay? So what is it in the Quran? Because here's the thing. If you actually read the Quran, That is a fantastic way for you to be anti-Islam. Like no sane person, no sane person will read the Quran and be like, "Yep, this is fantastic." In fact, the best way to get somebody to leave Islam is to get them to read Quran and understand the Quran. So I want this guy to actually tell us at some point somewhere that what it was it in the Quran. Was it the wife beating part? This is here's a question. This man has a daughter, right? So this man has a daughter. He read the Quran and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is fantastic. Let's become a Muslim." When it comes to, you don't have to be a scholar, you don't have to be a genius, you don't have to know Arabic, you don't have to have an understanding of Islamic history or the hadith or the Sha'n al-Nuzul or the authority of each tafsir that has been written on the Quran. You just need to have read the Quran long enough for you to get to this part, right? So he read the Quran and he said he has a daughter. Let me actually make sure. Like, please. I found the Quran from my daughter. This guy, I think English might not be his first name. I found the Quran from my daughter at home. Okay. First day I read for 3 hours. Guys, the Quran is not a very big book. It's actually, the reason why that book that he's holding looks very big is because it's probably like, I don't know, comes with tafsir as well. But Quran is actually a very short book. Next day, my first prayer. So he's a Muslim now. He read the Quran and he's a Muslim. So my question to him is, given that you have a daughter, what are your thoughts about this part of the Quran? Men are caretakers of women, since Allah has made some of them excel the others. So first of all, the Quran is telling that men are superior to women. Again, this is Quran 4, chapter 4, verse 34. And because of the wealth they have spent. Okay, so because they are the ones who make the money, they are apparently superior, right? And then it says, so the righteous women are obedient. So, sir, this Quran is telling your wife, your daughter, to be an obedient wife to her future husband and guard the property and honor of their husband in their absence, with the protection given by Allah. As for women of whom you fear rebellion, so this is the key part, okay? God is telling the reader of the Quran, who's obviously a man, you can see like many parts of the Quran, it writes as if it assumes that whoever's reading the Quran is a man. Says, as for women of whom you fear rebellion, so if you, among your women, if you feel that they might rebel, if you fear that they might not be obedient, first it gives you 3 steps. First, convince them. If that doesn't work, leave them apart in bed. Basically, don't let them sleep in your bed, and then beat them. Okay, beat them. And again, the Quran that he has seems to have come with commentary and tafsir. If you look at, you don't need to be, if you want to do more research and see if this translation is accurate or not, go look at every single tafsir of the Quran for the past 1300 years. They all, so if you don't, people are like, oh, you have to speak Arabic. No, you don't have to speak Arabic, because the tafsir books have been written by people who speak Arabic, right? So given that every single tafsir book in the history of Islam has translated this part as Rabuhunna, where is it? Where is it? Oh, here. As Rabuhunna, this part, as beat them, then you could assume that it means beat them, beat them. And if anybody says like, no, it's the Quran, it means to beat them lightly, first of all, tell them that beat them lightly is also horrible, but also make it clear that nowhere in the Quran talks about lightly. Nowhere in the Quran mentions lightly. But also look at the audacity of Allah, right? After it says, then if they obey you, do not seek away against them. Surely Allah is the highest and the greatest. So you're being so merciful, because if they obey you, you're going to end up stop beating them. So yeah, this person, this father, like how disgusting of a father do you have to be to have read a book that promotes wife beating, and you, as a father of a daughter that has turned Muslim, are endorsing this book, is celebrating, you're celebrating a book that promotes the idea of a husband beating your daughter. If again, let's always be clear, the Quran doesn't say to beat them if they're disobedient. The Quran says beat them who you fear disobedience, fear rebellion. So even if they have not rebelled, even if they have not disobeyed, it you only require fearing disobedience for you to beat them. And also remember, this is not a permission, it's a command. The Quran says, ask for women whom you fear rebellion. When it says beat them, it doesn't tell you that you are allowed to beat them. It's a commandment. So you have to do it. It's not like this is an option. Even if you don't want to beat them, if you fear disobedience, Allah is commanding you to beat them. So, yeah, Father of the Year, endorsing a book that endorses and commands you to beat women. It's disgusting, for especially for somebody who has a daughter. There we go. Easy peasy. Why is it so easy to destroy Islam, and yet Islam is spreading so like wildfire? Right? Like this is the most disgusting widespread ideology in the world. And we have an ideology. Tell me this, okay? Like among right now, when it comes to our modern moral standards, which has improved a lot, we never had it this good for the past 10,000 years of civilization. Some would say 12. But here's the thing: right now, based on the standards that we have, like, please answer me, because it's hard to figure this one out. Okay, I need help. There are certain things, some of them rightly, some of them maybe not. We'll see. I'll tell you whether that we are extremely sensitive about more than other things, right? Like, for example, beating women, wife beating is something that we're rightfully very sensitive about. Like among all the things that we get are so, it disgusts us when somebody wants to celebrate or if somebody wants to do it. Wife beating, I'm not talking about self-defense and stuff like that, is one of them, right? Having sexual relationship, or I shouldn't even call it a relationship, RAPE of children, that is something that we are rightfully very, very sensitive about, right? So Islam has wife beating. Islam has child RAPE. And here's another thing that I can't figure out. One of the most popular, especially in the Western world, one of the most wholesome, popular, things that we love, if you could put, and people, what do people love? People seem to like really love, I don't know, pizza, ice cream. These are things that they mention that they love so much, especially in Western world. But one of them is our dogs, our relationship to our pets. People are obsessed with their dogs. People love their dogs. And I don't understand, like, I there are so many other more disgusting things about Islam, like the some parts that don't get mentioned much. For example, the idea of being able to have sex slaves in Islam, that is part of the Quran, that is part of Islam. It doesn't get mentioned as much because we don't relate to that as a problem in our modern lives, because like we think like slavery is something so far at distant, even though it's not, right? But these are the things that we're still grapple with in our like modern lives, like wife beating. That's why we're so disgusted by it. Child, I'm not going to say the words because YouTube might get sensitive about it. That's still some stuff that happens in modern society, so we're very sensitive about it. But also being anti-dog, I mean, that should have been the last nail in the coffin. You know, the fact that Muhammad ordered the killing of dogs, right? And eventually, because of an event, he gave up on that order and just said, "We'll kill just the black ones because those ones are the devil." But the fact that he was so anti-dog, I was like, how could this ideology have any popularity in the Western world, given that it's pro-wife beating, pro-child rape, and anti-dog? Who doesn't love dogs? So tell me how one of the most disgusting ideologies on this planet is spreading like a virus. By the way, Muhammad did order the killing of dogs simply for being dogs. We have to talk about that more.